The flight from Chicago to Miami was supposed to be routine. 300 passengers, clear skies, and a smooth landing. But when the wheels touched down, Captain Richard Morrison did something unprecedented. He walked into the cabin, pointed at one passenger, and called the police himself. "Before we dive in, what time are you listening? Where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me. And please, like and subscribe for more videos like this." Marcus Thompson checked his boarding. Pass one more time. Seat to 4B. Window seat. He smiled at that small victory. After working 70 hours this week at the hospital, he deserved a view of the clouds. His sister's wedding in Miami was tomorrow, and he had promised her he would be there no matter what. He adjusted his backpack on his shoulder and moved through the airport terminal. The boarding process was smooth. Marcus found his seat and settled in. He placed his medical journal in the seat pocket, plugged in his headphones, and closed his air. Eyes for just a moment. The flight attendant's voice came over the speaker, running through the usual safety instructions. Marcus had heard it all 1,000 times before. Then a woman appeared beside him. She was probably in her 60s, wearing a navy blazer and pearl earrings. She glanced at her ticket, then at Marcus, then at the seat next to him. "Excuse me," she said, her voice tight. "That is my seat." Marcus looked up and checked. 2-4A. The aisle seat. He nodded and stood to let her pass, but she did not move. She just stood there, staring at him. "Is something wrong?" Marcus asked. She pressed her lips together. "I would like to speak to a flight attendant." Marcus felt a familiar weight settle in his chest. He had felt it before, in grocery stores when security followed him, in department stores when clerks watched his hands, in traffic stops when officers approached his window with their hands on their weapons. He knew what this was. A flight attendant arrived within seconds. Her name tag read Jessica. She smiled professionally. "How can I help you?" The woman leaned in close and whispered something. Jessica's smile faltered for just a second. She looked at Marcus, then back at the woman. "Ma'am, this gentleman has a valid ticket for seat 24B. Is there a problem with your seat?" "I do not feel comfortable," the woman said, louder now. "I want to change seats." Jessica nodded slowly. "We can certainly try to accommodate you. Let me check if there are any available seats in the cabin." Marcus said nothing. He sat back down and looked out the window. His jaw was tight. His hands were steady on his lap, but his heart was pounding. Other passengers were starting to look, some with curiosity, some with pity, some with judgment. Jessica returned 5 minutes later. "Ma'am, the flight is completely full. There are no other available seats. I can offer you a seat on the next flight if you prefer." The woman's face turned red. "Absolutely not. I have an important meeting. I need to be on this flight." "Then I am afraid you will need to take your assigned seat." The woman sat down heavily, her mouth set in a thin line. She angled her body away from Marcus, pressing herself against the armrest as if trying to create as much distance as possible. The plane began to taxi. Marcus put his headphones on, but he did not play any music. He just wanted to block out the world. He wanted to disappear into his seat and forget that this was happening. Again, an hour into the flight, Marcus needed to use the restroom. He stood and moved past the woman, careful not to touch her. As he walked down the aisle, he noticed people watching him. Their eyes followed his movement. He kept his head down and his steps measured. When he returned, the woman was speaking to another flight attendant. This one was older, with grey streaks in her pulled back hair. Her name tag read Susan. She was nodding as the woman spoke, her expression serious. Marcus slid back into his seat. Susan leaned down. "Double quote, sir. I need you to come with me for a moment." "Why?" Marcus asked. "Just a quick conversation, please." Marcus felt every eye in the surrounding rows on him. He stood and followed Susan to the back galley. Another flight attendant was there, a young man who would not meet Marcus's eyes. "Sir, we have received a complaint that you are behaving in a threatening manner." Marcus felt the air leave his lungs. Threatening. "I have been sitting in my seat the entire flight. I went to the restroom. That is all. The passenger says you made her feel unsafe. I did not speak to her. I did not look at her. I did nothing." Susan's expression softened slightly. "I believe you, but I need to document this. Can you tell me your name and your seat number?" Marcus gave her the information. His hands were shaking now. He could not stop them. "Am I in trouble?" "No. We are just documenting the complaint. You can return to your seat." Marcus walked back through the cabin. Every face was a blur. He sat down and stared straight ahead. The woman beside him had her phone out, typing furiously. Marcus wondered if she was texting someone about him, about the dangerous man sitting next to her. The flight continued. Marcus did not move again. He did not get up for the beverage service. He did not adjust his position. He barely breathed. He just sat there, frozen, counting down the minutes until landing. Then the turbulence hit. It started as a gentle rocking. Then the plane dropped. Passengers gasped. The seatbelt sign dinged on. The flight attendants rushed to their jump seats. The plane shook violently. Overhead bins rattled. A carry-on bag fell into the aisle. The woman next to Marcus grabbed the armrest. Her knuckles were white. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps. She was panicking. Marcus watched her for a moment. He could have looked away. He could have let her suffer alone the way she had made him suffer. But that was not who he was. "Hey," he said softly. "Look at me." She turned, her eyes wide with fear. "Focus on your breathing. In through your nose. Hold it out through your mouth, like this." He demonstrated. She followed. Her breathing slowed. The pilots are trained for this. Turbulence is normal. "We are going to be fine." She nodded, still gripping the armrest. The plane continued to shake, but her panic was subsiding. Marcus kept talking to her, his voice calm and steady, until the turbulence finally passed. When the plane leveled out, she looked at him, really looked at him. For the first time since boarding, she saw him as a person. "Thank you," she whispered. Marcus nodded and turned back to the window. The plane began its descent into Miami. The landing was smooth, perfect, the kind of landing that makes passengers applaud. But as the plane taxied to the gate, something unusual happened. The captain's voice came over the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened. We have a situation that needs to be addressed before deplaning." Confused. Murmurs rippled through the cabin. Marcus felt his stomach drop. He knew, somehow, he knew this was about him. The plane came to a stop at the gate, but the seatbelt sign stayed on. 2 police officers boarded the aircraft. They walked slowly down the aisle, scanning the rows. Then they stopped at row 24, but they were not looking at Marcus. They were looking at the woman. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us." Her face went pale. "What? Why?" "We will explain outside the aircraft. Please gather your belongings and come with us." She stood, trembling. She looked at Marcus, confusion and shame crossing her face. The officers escorted her off the plane. The cabin was silent. Then Captain Richard Morrison himself emerged from the cockpit. He was a tall man, with silver hair and captain's stripes on his uniform. He walked directly to Marcus. "Mr. Thompson, I need to speak with you." "Please come with me." Marcus's heart pounded. He stood and followed the captain to the front of the plane. The captain turned to face him. "I owe you an explanation. During the flight, my crew informed me about the complaints filed against you. I reviewed the security footage from the cabin. There are cameras, you know. I saw everything." Marcus said nothing. He just waited. "I saw that you did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing. You sat quietly. You were courteous. And when that woman was in distress, you helped her. You were kind to someone who had treated you with cruelty." The captain's jaw tightened. "I also reviewed her behavior. I watched her file false complaints against you. I watched her attempt to have you removed from the flight based on nothing but your appearance. That is not acceptable. Not on my aircraft. Not ever." He paused. "I called the police myself. I am pressing charges on behalf of this airline for filing false reports and attempting to incite an incident. She endangered the safety of this flight with her actions. You, Mr. Thompson, are free to go, and I want to apologize on behalf of my crew and this airline. You deserved better." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. He blinked them back. "Thank you, Captain." The captain extended his hand. Marcus shook it. "No, thank you for being the kind of man who helps others even when they do not deserve it. The world needs more people like you." Marcus walked off that plane with his head high. As he entered the terminal, he saw the woman sitting in a chair, flanked by officers. She looked up as he passed. Their eyes met. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but no words came out. Marcus kept walking. He made it to his sister's wedding the next day. He danced and laughed and celebrated love, but he carried that flight with him. The weight of being presumed dangerous, the exhaustion of being hyper-aware of every movement, every breath, every glance, the relief of finally being believed. Captain Morrison's actions made news. Videos from other passengers went viral. People debated online about accountability, about bias, about the everyday indignities that some people face simply because of how they look. The airline released a statement supporting the captain's decision and implementing new training protocols for crew members. But for Marcus, the real impact was quieter. It was knowing that one person in a position of power had chosen to see the truth, had chosen to act, had chosen to say, "This is not right, and I will not allow it." The woman faced charges. She issued a public apology that felt hollow and rehearsed. She claimed she had been stressed, anxious, not thinking clearly. But Marcus knew the truth. She had been thinking clearly. She had made a choice, and that choice revealed who she really was. Marcus returned to his work at the hospital. He treated patients with the same care and compassion he always had. He saved lives. He comforted families. He did his job with excellence and grace. But sometimes, late at night, he would think about that flight, about the captain who stood up for him, about the system that so often fails people who look like him, but that day, just that once, worked the way it was supposed to. Justice is not always loud. Sometimes it is a captain calling the police on the right person. Sometimes it is a handshake and an apology. Sometimes it is simply being believed when you tell the truth. Marcus never flew that airline again, not because of anger, but because he could not separate the memory from the experience. But he kept Captain Morrison's business card in his wallet, a reminder that there are people who will stand up, people who will see, people who will act, and that makes all the difference. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this.